Hi everyone. Portsmouth, New Hampshire is a special New England seaport town on the Piscataqua River. It has been attracting real estate buyers and visitors from all over the world, all over the country for many, many years. I'm Sarah Tracy with Remax Shoreline in Portsmouth, and I've been selling real estate for many years in this area. And speaking of real estate, in 2021, we have experienced the hottest real estate market we could have ever imagined. To give you an example, this year, 2021, there were 3 single-family residences that topped the $4 million mark in closing price. We've never seen that before. Because Portsmouth is also special to me, and I've worked here for many years, I decided to make a YouTube video of the quaint and charming downtown. You'll see lots of antique brick buildings as well as wooden ones from the 18th and 19th centuries. You'll see Market Square with the majestic North Church and the African burial ground as we go along. So I'll also mention other sites as we pass them. Let's get started. Here we are on Market Street Extension, entering town. You'll notice the salt piles on your left. That salt comes from around the world and provides cover for the New England roads in the wintertime. You'll see the Piscataqua River here, and Market Street with all its cute shops, cafes, restaurants, backs up to the river. The Moffett Ladd House, Black Heritage Trail are also right here, and in the summer months you can visit and have a tour of the Moffett Ladd Historic House. And here we are at the corner of Hanover Street, headed into Market Square, but we're going to take a detour first onto Bow Street, another very picturesque part of the downtown area, dating to the late 18th century, early 19th century. This was known as Strawberry Bank during colonial days. The shops, restaurants, Poco's, River House, Surf, the Martingale, all here, and all wonderful restaurants to visit. Dress shops and Izzy's yogurt shop. Now here we are, back turning up toward Market Square. We're going to take a left here, and we're taking a glimpse down Commercial Alley, where again the Elephantine Cafe, the Cave Wine Bar, and dress shops. This is particularly pretty and historic. Market Square with the majestic North Church, built in 1854. It's been closed for COVID, but will soon be opening for services, but also entertainment. The tallest building on the right is the Athenaeum. It's the history library of all the old properties in Portsmouth. Very interesting if you have to do research. The Tuscan Kitchen has wonderful murals on the side of its building, as well as dining outside. The kiosk is for tourists, and someone sits in there in the summertime and will give directions and information. Looking down Congress Street, the other arm of Market Square, we're headed toward the music hall, more shops and restaurants. Looking forward on the left is the John Paul Jones House, and on our right is the Discover Portsmouth Center with the African Culture Center. Art exhibits are featured here, and the education about African culture as it was in Portsmouth. This building, formerly a church and then the home of the Salvation Army, has now been transitioned into residential and business condominiums. And here we are in front of the John Paul Jones House next to the Grand Rockingham Hotel. It's now condominiums that range in price from $500,000 to $800,000 with a lovely library restaurant below. Coming up, the African Burial Ground Memorial. This street was Chestnut Street. It was found to have 14 coffins buried here when the town did some excavating for road work. It is now a solemn and beautiful memorial to the Africans, slaves who were here in Portsmouth during the 1800s. And here we have the beautiful South Church, a classical revival architecture. It's on the National Register of Historic Places, built in 1824. The former custom house, post office, and now a converted building with book and bar, restaurant inside, and offices also. Making our way down State Street toward the river, we're passing more brick buildings, and coming up on the right is Temple Israel. The brick buildings on the left house apartments. This is Sheaf Street, tucked in the center of town between Daniel Street and State Street. Small residential street with beautiful 17th and 18th century wooden clapboard homes. And now we're going to walk back onto State Street. Again, so many great shops. There's an art gallery, there's Vernon Carlson's chocolate shop, Birch women's clothing store, Fezziwig's breakfast and lunch, and then very high-end condominiums on the second, third, and third levels of these buildings. Here we are at the Memorial Bridge that goes from Portsmouth to Kittery, Maine. And on our left is a fairly new memorial to the fallen war dead. This is the old Public Service of New Hampshire building. Went up for auction many years ago and is now high-end commercial office space. Parking on the left. Making our way up Ceres Street. That building is $1 million condominiums on the left, and on the right is the converted public service building to very beautiful offices. And here it is right on the river, and a great view of the Memorial Bridge. It's a suspension bridge and lets in the big tankers that bring the salt in or liquid petroleum gas upriver. Portsmouth is a working port. And let's not forget the cultural aspect in Portsmouth. The Seacoast Repertory Theatre does wonderful shows throughout the year. St. John's Church, very old, has its own graveyard on the corner, filled with fairly famous people from the colonial days. Expensive condominiums, $1 million range overlooking the water is what we're seeing on the right. And here we are down on Ceres Street. Off of Bow Street, we're going to see the Ferry Landing Restaurant, a favorite with a deck right on the river. The tugboats, Moran Company, are the boats that pull in and guide the huge tankers from the Atlantic down the mouth of the Piscataqua River. Again, many fine restaurants down in this part of town. Another shot of the tugboats, who serve a useful function for the Port of Portsmouth. And around the corner, we have the Hilton Garden Hotel, usually full year-round. And as we walk down High Street, you'll see old houses, residential, beautiful little garden, and then in the far left corner is an area called the Hill. And those houses were moved there when the Italian section of town was razed for urban renewal in the 1960s. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed seeing some of downtown Portsmouth. If I can help with your real estate needs, please contact me, Sarah Tracy at Comcast.net at Remax Shoreline in Portsmouth, New Hampshire.